Hey everybody, I just want to do a quick video going over the exponent rules. So let's say you have 4 squared times 4 cubed. What is that? Well, so we have a rule that says that x to the a times x to the b, where a and b are some exponent, equals x to the a plus b. In other words, you are supposed to add those up. So that means that this would be 4 to the 2 plus 3, otherwise known as 4 to the 5th power. So, but why? Why do they add up? I mean, it seems like they're being multiplied. So why are we adding them up? Good question. So for example, 4 squared. Isn't 4 squared actually 4 times 4? Is it not? And tell me if it's true, but isn't 4 cubed actually 4 times 4 times 4? Isn't it? So when I'm looking at this, I see, hey, there are 5 4s here. This is actually 4 to the 5th power. And so now we see why the exponents are being added. It just means, look, there's 2 4s and 3 4s, and together there's 5 4s. They're just being multiplied. And this is not the same as 5 times 4, which is 20, right? So this is much larger. It's 1,024. So it's definitely not 20. Okay, what about the other rules? So what if I have something like this? Let's say I have 4 to the 5th power over 4 to the 3rd power. In other words, they're being divided. Well, in that case, according to my rule, I have x to some power divided by x to another power equals x to the a minus b. In other words, they are being subtracted. But why? Well, first of all, let's see if that works out. So 4 to the 5 minus 3 gives us 4 squared. So let's see why. 4 to the 5th, let me do some colors. 4 to the 5th, isn't that actually 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4? And tell me, isn't 4 cubed actually 4 times 4 times 4? I believe it is. And so now, because 4 over 4 equals 1, right? 4 over 4 equals 1. In fact, any number divided by itself is 1. That means if I have a 4 over 4, it just becomes 1, which when you multiply goes away. It's insignificant. And so that happens again and again. And look what we're left with. We're just left with 4 times 4, otherwise known as 4 squared. So if there's 4 to the 5th power on top and 4 cubed on the bottom, then you do 5 minus 3 because 3 of them will cancel. So you have to subtract those from the ones in the numerator, and you'll be left with 4 squared. So we are left with our great rule. In fact, here are these 2 rules. Make sure you have these down because I'm going to go to a new slide, and I'm going to go over 2 more rules. Okay, so here are some exponent rules, and grab your cheat sheet. Make sure that's there. You can pause and go back. So here is the new slide. So let's talk about another classic, which is bracketed exponents. So let's say I have 4 squared, and I am told that it is going to be cubed. Well, the rule is x, if you have x to some power, or some variable to some power, and you have another exponent on the outside of the bracket, that means that you multiply those exponents. They have a times b. And so let's see what that would be here. So that means that this is 4 to the 2 times 3, otherwise known as 4 to the 6th. So why is this one being multiplied and the other one being divided? Well, glad you asked. Because 4 squared is actually 4 times 4, isn't it? And so we still have it cubed. And tell me if you know, But isn't this actually 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4? Because when you cube something, you're doing it 3 times. Now, because these are all being multiplied, there's no different signs, there's no addition and subtraction. The brackets become irrelevant, and this is just 4 to the 6th power. Right? These brackets here, they just, not relevant. Because everything's just being multiplied. So there we go. All right, and then the final rule, and this one's the real humdinger, negative exponents. So for negative exponents, we have, for example, 4 to the negative 2. What is the rule here? Well, the rule for any negative exponent, if you have x to some negative exponent, is that negative exponents mean inverse. This is the inverse, and it does not mean negative. It just means inverse. So that means that this would be 1 over x to the a. So taking that, I'm told that this is actually 1 over 4 squared. Huh, well, that seems really weird. Why would that be reciprocal? Did someone like sit in a room one day and like, what should we do with the negative exponent? Let's make it inverse. No, that's not what happened. In fact, there's a logical reason why the negative exponent means inverse. And so here we go. Let me try to prove that to you. I think that a deeper understanding will help you remember these rules better. And so they're not so abstract and just, I have to remember it. But I think your understanding will be deeper. So why is it? So let me ask you this. So let's say we have 4 cubed over 4 to the 5th power. And according to the rule that we just learned earlier, isn't that 4 to the 3 minus 5? Right? Because according to the division rule that we just learned on the previous slide, the one right here, whenever you have some terms with exponents being divided with the same base, you can subtract the exponent. So we are going to do just that. We're going to subtract these exponents to get 3 minus 5, which is 4 to the negative 2. Okay, but isn't 4 cubed over 4 to the 5th power actually 4 times 4 times 4 over 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4? Is it not? And once again, we have some parts here that factor. Right? 4 over 4 is always 1, but this time we have them in the denominator, and look at that. That is 1 over 4 squared, which is equal to this right here. So that means that 4 to the negative 2 power is actually 1 over 4 squared. One last thing I want to point out. Notice how that is not a negative number. And believe you me, I've seen lots of people think that a negative exponent makes the number negative. But clearly it doesn't. It just 1 over 16 is a positive number. So it's still a positive number. The negative exponent did not make it negative. So in other words, having a negative exponent means that there are more in the bottom than there are on the top. That's my colloquial way of saying it. Right here, there are 3 on top, and here there are 5 on the bottom. There's 5 4s on the bottom, and there's 3 4s on the top. So there are more on the bottom. There are 2 more on the bottom, hence 4 to the negative 2. And so that number up top tells me how many are on the bottom. If it were 4 squared, it would just be 4 times 4, 2 on the top. But 4 to the negative 2 means 1 over 4 squared.